All right, welcome to eCom Raw Reality episode 23, and in this one we will talk about full funnel in eCom. So, what do I mean by that? Well, looking at the entire picture, because you might be a dropshipper. In that case, you'll need to know almost everything. You might be a service provider, so you might need to know just Facebook ads or email marketing or CRO, or you might actually be a brand owner. So in that case, you would need to know a little bit of everything, but be the best at nothing, right? So why do I want us to look full funnel? Well, because if you are almost in any of those scenarios, you would actually need to know as much as possible. Why? Because it helps you. And I'm also saying this because recently I've started to discuss with more and more brands, and I realize that in most cases, you can pinpoint where their issue is. And if you can pinpoint where their issue is, you can either help them directly because you can actually help them with that service, with that, let's say, activity that they actually need to do at that point in time, or you can actually refer them to someone else. For example, I'm not good at CRO, so I might offer some tips and let them know where the cracks might be in someone's funnel, right? Is it the fact that people drop on the landing page or basically the product page or on the home page? They don't know where to click when they go to the collection page. They get overwhelmed. They don't have some kind of discount code, right? So there are so many things. And taking a step back. So what is like the full funnel view, right? Because if we think of the full funnel view, it's basically from someone not knowing of you, right, until they actually buy for the 100th time from you, right? Like, for example, I probably spent a few $1,000s on some brands or on some sites just because I bought initially after I found out about that website, and then maybe I read some reviews, maybe I just got a good offer in the beginning. There could be a multitude of reasons, right? So that's why you actually want to have as many reasons as possible as to why someone might follow you, buy from you, right? Because even here, think of it like this. Why would you or anyone else like follow me, right? One of the reasons might be because I offer some value, ideally. Two, because I speak from experience. So I don't bullshit as much, right? As others might do. I maybe just bullshit less. Third, maybe because you like my style, right? Fourth, maybe because you like the length of these videos, right? So there are so many things. Maybe fifth reason, because I have glasses, right? So you think that I might be slightly more nerdy, right? Which could be false or true. We don't know yet. So with all of that being said, let's think of ecom and let's look at the entire steps, right? And this is definitely not like the actual full guide to it, but full funnel. If we look big picture, what does it mean? So someone doesn't even know you exist. So you need to get their attention. I would say there are two primary ways, organic or paid. Those I would say are the primary ways in ecom. You are not going to cold email someone, right? It's not scalable, it's not ideal, it's spammy, probably even illegal. So I would rather not do that. So paid ads or organic, either could work. The goal of those is to get someone's attention. And then, for example, with organic, sometimes you don't have links right there. So you have to maybe tell them to check the bio or maybe sign up for something, depending on where they are, where they see that. And then same with paid. They would have to click and go to another page. And here is basically the next step. After they click, where do they land? Do they land on a home page? Do they land on a product page? And as we know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 people out of 100 actually buy right away, right? We know this. Conversion rate is usually maybe 1 to 3%, I would say on average. You might make a case that it's maybe 5%, 10% if you have a good funnel, but let's be honest, like you don't get there in the beginning. You don't get there easily. So you will have around 96 people out of 100, or let's say 97, that won't buy right then and there. Even though there are people with money, there are people who might be interested in protein, in skincare, in hair loss. There are so many products out there, right, for different things. They might just want a drink that relaxes them or that gives them energy, right? That's why you will see so many reels, TikToks with Monster energy drink. And actually I have a full case in my house, actually like 3 full cases of Monster, different flavors and so on. But of course, like I'm not necessarily addicted, meaning that I don't drink it daily just because I use my logic and I know it's not ideal for my body each and every day. And then also financially, right? So you need to use logic. And it's the same with the full funnel. You want to understand as much as possible because then you can actually see where the gaps are. And one reason why you might want to know even CRO, even if you're on the paid media side, right? Or even on email, it's because basically if CRO sucks, you will be affected on paid media and same on email. Because if the page doesn't look good, no one will actually put their email, right? So all of them are connected. But let's come back to the landing page, and there you do have 2 options, right? Someone buys or someone gives you their email. And this is where it's actually really important to understand, all right, why do people not buy? Let's say, why are they not buying right now? And for example, the question would be, if they don't buy right now, could I at least get their email? Because otherwise it's a lost opportunity, right? So for example, I'm a paid media guy primarily. So when I send traffic and I see that traffic not doing anything, I don't think that necessarily it's always like my fault, right? In the past, I was like, all right, it's my fault. I'm the shittiest media buyer, growth strategist, whatever, right? I don't know what I'm doing there. But then you realize like you can only control so much. You can only control so much. The ads could do a fantastic job at actually getting people to the page, but then they don't convert and they also don't give you their email, right? And this is not the paid media guys' fault or the creative or anything like that, right? Because Meta does a fantastic job at actually getting you people who are likely to buy. So that's why one of the most important things is actually understanding where to focus on. Like people are just testing ads all day long, but not realizing that it's not the fact that the ad like sucks, because the ad won't get someone to buy unless it's like some kind of amazing UGC that you will pay at least 1K for. Unless it's in that area, then it won't do the selling on its own. Like you can have the best UGC. If the page sucks, the offer sucks, like people won't buy. So that's why it's really important to also understand offers. And that's where CRO comes into place, basically. And that's why I don't do CRO, because there are so many factors there. And you need to think of small price changes. Like why is, let's say, a $5 discount going to make almost double the people buy, right? So instead of maybe 1% conversion rate, you might get 2. Because it's really important to understand people are price sensitive, many of them, me included actually, and they know they have options, especially nowadays, right? With products, they have options. So if you don't find a good reason why they should buy right there and then, of course they will leave. And you can only hope that another ad might convince them, but then basically you're always just expecting the ads, and the ads are actually less in your control because it's Meta mostly, while the website, that's almost entirely in your control. It's not Shopify who's going to actually decide, all right, who I'm showing this to or anything. Like you send the traffic and then you have to check the page. You have to make all of the changes to a page and decide what you're selling, how you're packaging it. And then let's think of email, right? Someone doesn't buy, they get into an email flow. What's the flow there? It's really important. And actually right now, after finishing this video, I will follow up on an email with someone who wants to work on basically paid media and some email strategy. And that's why, for example, right now I do know email strategy because I know it will help me with paid media. And otherwise I might have a hard time actually retaining someone, like actually giving them good results if the email side kind of sucks, right? So that's why it's actually really important over time to learn multiple skills, because you'll just be more well-rounded and you'll just like look at everything with a calmer approach, because you know what's in your control, what's not, where the gaps might be. So you're just analyzing, right? And of course, this is more so me talking as a more strategical person. But overall, I was just looking here. I just received the message, but let's not get distracted. That's why it's really important to also understand that part, the email side, because sometimes, most times, acquiring customers becomes more difficult, right? So you will pay more to acquire customers. But if the email side is doing well, then you can continue acquiring customers at a higher price, but you'll make more over time, lifetime value. So if someone doesn't buy, they go through the email flow. If someone buys, right, that's actually a perfect moment for you to actually give them a good experience. What does a good experience mean? Well, giving them like a thank you message, thank you email, showing them the status of their order, sending them maybe a follow-up where their order is after 1 or 2 days, right? Like a reminder. Just keeping them excited about what's going to come, right? Because sometimes it's like you buy something, you get a dopamine hit, then you're waiting for that thing to come a few days, and in the meantime, you might be thinking of it. And there's actually some kind of anticipation, right? It's just like going out on a vacation, right? Going to in a holiday in let's say Hawaii or Europe, some kind of island, right? Exotic island. And you plan this usually ahead of time, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year ahead. And you know that excitement until the day happens, right? You are thinking almost consistently about it, like you're picturing yourself there. And it's actually a nice way to pay for an experience and have it in your mind even before it happens, right? So this is something that we could touch more on, right? Because sometimes all life is just like confidence, anticipation of things, right? Like perception, not actual reality, right? Because sometimes you might be losing money or actually like wasting money on something, but you wouldn't feel like it's wasted money, because just like with time, it's not wasted time if you actually enjoyed it, right? Or at least that's not the feeling. And this is what we're trying to do usually as marketers. Try to look at feelings and evoke an emotion, ideally a positive one, or for example, fear, in order to then introduce the product. And that is the solution, right? So we'll keep this at around 30 minutes, long enough, I would say, but full funnel e-commerce, that's what we all should do. And it's a process, right? Things change. So it's not like you'll ever be the best at this, but you don't have to be the best. Like if you care about something, then you will eventually be one of the best. And think of it like in relationships, right? Why does everyone have a different partner? Well, because one person can't dedicate as much time to like 2 people, right? In most cases. So that's why you'll decide to, for example, be in a relationship just with one person, because you'll know that person will give you like 8 hours, right? Just for you. While another person or you yourself couldn't give 8 hours to one person and 8 hours to another, right? Same with services, with e-commerce, with whatever you're doing. You can't have 5 brands and do it all yourself. You will need some help. You will need other experts and you will need their time, right? Just like myself, I also have a team. I also have other people that I work with, because alone, like, you will be limited to some extent. So with all of that being said, full funnel e-com approach, that's something I prefer, and that's something that I will talk about, because ideally you are well-rounded, and that makes it easier for you to be confident in whatever you're doing, and knowing if it's you that kind of sucks at what you're doing or if it's other factors, right? So with that being said, that's pretty much everything for this one. And if you enjoyed it, you can leave a like, and until next time, peace out.